Hey guys, it's Elizabeth and it's the Naked Truth. I had so much fun last week. I decided to come back again this week. How is everybody? I'm really super thrilled. Forever, I have wanted to get a therapist on our show to talk about the emotional aspects of weight loss surgery because, yeah, we know that's a true story. And so not only do we have a therapist on today, but she's also a weight loss surgery patient. So I don't think it gets much better than that. So I want to introduce you guys, if you don't already know her, to Diana Vogel.
Hello. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, I'm thrilled. And you're gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. It's called Good Lighting and Makeup.
And you can't tell this, but when I met Diana at a couple of OH conferences because she's involved with that, and I'll let her talk about that in a minute, but she has the best shoes ever.
Oh, because what shoes name, they just don't fail us. They fit.
They don't.
They're reliable. They're our friends. So
yes. Amazing shoes. So just really quick, I want to recognize the people who are here. Losing It For Me 42, Sarah is here, and Susie VSG, and Dory's Journey, and Joe B. Red, Funny Girl. So hey guys, if really quickly, you can post in chat, but because it's just me and I'm trying to pay attention to our lovely guest, if I miss something, oh, Al, we have a guy in the house. Al's here. So if you have a burning question and I miss it on chat because I'm not going to scroll back, you can text me. I will want to give my cell phone number out over the interwebs. No one has abused it really, unless it's somebody I actually know in real life. My number is 714-625-5663. So if you want to text me a question that I don't see on chat, feel free to do that. And so Diana, tell us first a little bit about your weight loss surgery stuff, and then we'll jump into the rest.
I was going to say about my weight loss journey started when I was born, I'm pretty sure. So let's see. Basically, was never obese as a child, but I was always that fat. I was a fat cheerleader. You know, looking back, I could just strangle that image I had of myself in my head. I was like a size 10. And compared to my size 2 girlfriends, I was the fat cheerleader. No one dare say it to my face, and I was still a cheerleader. But do you know what I mean? So I wasn't so concerned about my weight, just as the same as any average teenage girl. Fast forward to left home at 17, packed on the pounds. I was over 200 by the time I was 20. Had 2 kids, really around 216 pounds was like my golden number. Went back to school around 30 years old, went back from my undergrad, gained 30 pounds. Went back for my master's, gained 30 pounds. Started my doctorate, gained a fucking whole nother child. I was like, what's going on here? So a little FYI, I have a really bad potty mouth. So if you get offended.
Me too. They're used to that.
Oh, good. I was tune out now. I don't know. So then my highest was about 260, and I'm only 5'4". So it was not a cute look. I was a little bit of an Oompa Loompa. But you know what the problem was? I had a good life. I had a great husband who I've been with for 26 years. I had great kids. I was on the way to a great career. So I just really had no reason to lose weight. Honestly, like a lot of us, we're high functioning. We're just happy and fat, you know? But then when I started noticing I was becoming more lethargic and just less motivated to be physical, I was like, this isn't cool. I'm going to really be hurting if I keep it up at this rate. So I just told my husband one day, I think I'm going to get weight loss surgery. And he was like, what? Because I wasn't a yo-yo dieter, really. I've tried all the diets, but I was never this gung-ho, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig's. But I did the fen. I was on crack for a month. And, I did all of that stuff. But he was like, why is that one going to work? And none of the other ones did. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was like, I don't know. I didn't know enough about it. I was just like, we're just going to give it a shot. So I did. And what I did, I think that has really contributed to my success, is I became a student of this. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So my clients fall into a couple of categories, which we'll get into after you do some more intros. But in a nutshell, that's the gist of my weight loss journey.
And so you're 6.5 years.
6.5 years out, gastric bypass, yes.
Right. Okay. And you are a marriage and family. I always get all the marriage and family therapist.
I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I have a private practice in Los Alamitos, and I also do online not for couples, but I do online individual and weight loss coaching. And I also do weight loss coaching out of state, specifically only weight loss coaching, not therapy. So
awesome. And you know, just so you guys know, Los Alamitos is right down the street from me, so I'm like super excited to be finally connected because I didn't realize she lived here. And tell us really quickly, and then I'll get into my community celebrations because we didn't do those last week. About what you've done with Obesity Help.
Oh, Obesity Help has been fantastic to me, as has Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America. I started speaking as a patient who was doing well on the journey, and then as a therapist intern at the time. So I just started speaking, and then the speaking positions grew bigger and bigger, and they wanted me to come back and do a panel. And then OH specifically really wanted me to start hosting their events. So I was hosting portions of them. And the last couple, 2-3 years, I've been hosting the whole gig. So I like to throw a good party, and they've allowed me that platform to do so. So I mix my professional and my personal knowledge about weight loss and throw a really good time.
Awesome. And will you be doing that again this year?
I will. They haven't announced it, but I will be your
sorry.
No, it's okay. We can announce me. I'll announce me. So yes, I will be your MC for the 2017 Obesity Help Conference in Long Beach, California, the last weekend of October. I believe it's
and if you guys don't already know it, I will also be speaking at Obesity Help, and it's in Southern California, and you guys should all come hang out. We're going to have a really good time.
Yes.
Okay, so really quickly, I just want to go through our community shout outs. But before I get into what we're celebrating, I have seen this on Facebook. I do not know this person, but my understanding is she's somebody in the weight loss surgery community. Diana Mohead Oates lost her husband this weekend. So we want to send our thoughts and prayers out to her. And then I just wanted to mention that real quick. So send her our love, and then I'll go on to the things that are a little happier. Catherine Dodson, Sister Scaleback, is celebrating her 3-year surgiversary. She has lost 130 pounds. Sharon Cook Taylor, her 1-year surgiversary. She's lost 150 pounds. She started at 406. Today she is 264.
Love it.
Yay. We have several baby announcements, and I don't think I've even mentioned not that I had a baby, but you guys know, I have a new grandson, Xavier. He is a month old. He was over here last night, and if you're friends with me on Instagram, you'll see the cutest picture of his sister Vivian kissing his head. So cute. My dear, dear friend Sarah Harrison is pregnant. She was trying for a while. She is going into her 2nd trimester, and her son Oz is the same age as my granddaughter Vivian. So I've said they're going to get married, and then now we have a little boy, and she's going to have a little girl, and they're going to get married so that we can be true family members. So I'm super, super excited for her. VSG Lauren is 10 months post-op, and yesterday she comfortably wore a size 10 skirt. Awesome. And she's down 110 pounds from her highest weight. Michelle Joy, I don't know how to say your last name, Michelle Joy Newhouse something, reached 170. Takesha Positive Girl Gets Fit, who, if you guys don't follow her, you should. I want to be her arms in another life. She has the most amazing arms ever. She will be 4.5 years post-op tomorrow and has been maintaining a weight under her goal at 135 pounds.
Wow.
So that's awesome. Yeah. Melissa Caps, Melissa in Tennessee, her weight loss has slowed down a bit. However, she was told at her 6 months post-op that she's ahead of schedule. She's killing it at the gym, and I'm really just enjoying helping and motivating others. She's gained muscles that she didn't know existed. Awesome. Well, the baby I forgot, Jenny Slaughter, vs. Jenny. She hasn't made videos in a while, but she is someone that I knew pre-op and has since become part of the weight loss surgery community. 2 weeks till her baby will be born, which is so exciting because that's one of the reasons that she had weight loss surgery. Shauna Elliott has her vision surgery scheduled Tuesday morning. Amy Nunez in Australia had her 3-year surgiversary on the 16th. And then there are a couple birthdays that have happened. I know I'm going to forget them all, but it's Dr. Katzen's birthday today, so I think we should give a shout out to Dr. Katzen. Happy birthday, Dr. Katzen. It was Tanya CSG 2011's birthday recently, and probably because and there are probably a million birthdays I'm missing. Oh, beautiful Alicia's birthday, and because I probably won't do a show before this, it also will be one of my besties, Gracie No One Stopping But Me's birthday in July. Okay, so I think I'm done.
I have 2.
Oh yeah, you were celebrating some big
Oh,
things.
no, not the celebration, but I want to give a shout out to Lauren Sanchez. I met her at OH conferences. She has become a good friend, and I forget when Lauren had her surgery. She's a few years out. She has done great on the journey, and she just had a baby a few days ago.
Oh,
So,
awesome. Congratulations.
Little baby. And then also I'm getting a tummy tuck, which I would only say to this group of people because no one else gives a shit. Like one of our goals post-op is to get to that point where we can get our plastic. So I'm completely thrilled and terrified and happy. So anyways.
That's super. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you want to talk about that or not, so I wasn't going to bring it up, but that's super exciting.
I have, like, no filters. My poor husband, like, he's not a fan of that part, so.
Yeah, my son either. Okay, well, let's jump in. Let me say a couple other people. Kim's VSG is here. Sleeved After 60 is here. Wendy Allison, Totally RNY, is here from Australia.
Wendy.
It's like early morning there. Saggy Pants is here. Toby Catone, Kit K. Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we're only going to do an hour today, but Diana has graciously agreed to come back on. Pretty much, I only want to do one show a month.
I was like, they like me and they want me to come back.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to like you and want you to come back. But like maybe every other time I do the Naked Truth, because I'm probably only going to do it once a month. But anyway, so we're going to do a whole show on relationships because I know that's a big piece, but we'll touch on it a little bit. But let me just sort of start at the beginning. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks that. I think the pre-op psychological evaluation for weight loss surgery is ridiculous. Do you think it is?
It absolutely is. I was terrified when I went for my psych evaluation. Even as a therapist, I was like, first of all, honestly, and a lot of people won't admit this, they do after I admit it. I'm like, I'm going to tell them whatever the hell I need to say to get this shit done. Like, I was like, what do I need? How sane do I need to be? How hard do I have to pretend I was working to get this shit approved? And then my husband was waiting in the lobby. I went in. It was 15 minutes from beginning to end to basically make sure I wasn't going to jump off a bridge. And she was like, peace out, you're approved. And I was like, what?
Exactly.
I was blown away. So I myself have done weight loss psych evals for Dr. Can I say his name? Dr.
I don't care.
Okay, Dr. Oliak. He's fantastic. I like those.
Dr. who?
Dr. Oliak out of Preop, Oliak Center for Weight Loss. So he brought me on, and I was doing his weight loss, pre-evals for his patients. But one of my requirements is minimum of 2 visits. Mm-hmm. So the only reason is because I feel like because those evaluations at this point, they're not really, they're not monitored. There's no real universal checklist that the insurance companies sort of require from you. They're leaving it up to our judgment to say whether that client is fit or not. So because really, I think everyone should go through a year, if not worth, of therapy before they have surgery. My only hope is that in those 2 sessions, I can educate you about what you're about to face.
Okay, so as a professional and a weight loss surgery patient, just because what would you tell someone to be concerned about if they were thinking about going into weight loss surgery from a psychological perspective?
Okay, so the very first thing that I tell people is that having weight loss surgery actually adds more problems to your life initially. And everyone's like, what do you mean? If I just lose weight, I'll live happily ever after. Well, sure, if you can lose the weight, first of all, because just because you have the surgery doesn't mean you're going to lose all the weight and get down to goal. And then secondly, you're not understanding that weight's not your issue. Weight is a symptom of your issue. So if you don't go into this understanding that, just like when you have a child, although they're a blessing from God, they're a fucking pain in the ass and they're really hard. Yes. Okay, just like getting married. It's absolutely a joy. I love my husband. I've been with him for 26 years, but that shit's some work. So if you don't go into this weight loss surgery understanding that you have to become a student of it and you have to learn, and that every professional out there is giving you so many different forms of information that contradict each other, then you're going to really struggle. I'm going to take away your coping mechanism for the first month and you're not going to be able to eat shit. Tell me you're not going to cry every day. your body's going to start changing, a body that you haven't been able to contend with all this time. And you think because it's going to be skinny and saggy now you're going to love it? No. Your friends are going to change because you're changing. And people who tell me that they don't change, they're full of shit. Because when we drop 100 pounds, we are by default a different person because people treat us differently, we look differently, we feel differently, so we change. So if you're not prepared for those things, you need to skip it now because it doesn't make your life better. You make your life better.
And how do you prepare? And there are so many questions and we can go through so many levels of this. I wanted to recognize Lily VSG, who's watching. She's also a therapist and weight loss surgery patient.
Oh, hello.
And then Monica Sleeves After 60, I think she was a therapist and she was in the mental health field. And she said she didn't pass her psyche valves.
Shut up. And again, it depends on who you get.
She had been to eating disorder treatment. And she said, I asked her why, and she said that they said that she was experiencing anxiety due to overeating.
Welcome to the club.
I know. Welcome
It really depends on who you get. I've only rejected a couple of people based on the fact that they had other addictions going on.
Right.
So you're telling me I'm going to take away your food and you snort on the side, you're going to OD on me. Like, we're not going to go there. If you're a heavy alcoholic, I'm not going to take away your food and then expect you to not rely on alcohol. So those are the big red flags for me that I wouldn't approve you on.
Okay. So if from a sort of a psychological perspective, from the mind piece of it, what do you think are the most important things for people to keep in mind other than what you talked about in terms of changing? And I don't even know how you prepare for that because you don't know how you don't know
for a baby.
What you don't know.
You don't prepare for a baby until you have a baby. We can read all the books we want to.
Right.
Exactly. Watch the show. You can, until you're going through anything and you walk in the shoes, there's no preparation. But you're going to do the basics. You're going to follow the pre-op guidelines. You're going to talk to friends and family. But for me, the bigger adjustments have to just start before weight loss surgery. So for example, one of the big things that I did is I had a best friend that we didn't have a big falling out. Nothing in particular happened. I just sort of thought she was a dick. And she was really just not a good person for me to have in my life anymore. So one of the things, I ended that 20-year relationship with her right before I had surgery. So that's how I prepared because I didn't want to have surgery and then have to contend with this person I knew shouldn't be in my life anymore. So I made some big adjustments before with relationships, with stress. So that's where you need to get off the freaking Pinterest, stop Googling smoothies. You need to stop Googling You need to stop Googling
100%
extra routines I need to do. You really need to take a look at your marriage. You really need to take a look at your friendships. You really need to take a look at the things that you're avoiding in life. Those are the things that are affecting you and not allowing you to stay on whatever program you choose, whether it's weight loss surgery or Jenny Craig or whatever. It doesn't matter what tool you use. It will fail you, or you will decrease the chances of success if you do not take care of the stress in your life. Stress, anxiety, depression management, that's the key to success.
Right. So now I'm a huge believer in therapy, and I actually was in psychoanalysis 4 days a week for a year.
Wow.
3 years before I had weight loss surgery. I would have never gotten there. I mean, I would have never even felt I was deserving of having therapy. Having weight loss surgery, whatever. I mean, I just wasn't there. And so I'm a huge, huge believer in it. But not everybody can afford that. Not everybody, I think it should be, honestly, I think it should be more important than paying for a lot of the things that we pay for.
Yes.
For sure that it should be prioritized. But if people can't afford it, what are some things that you would encourage them to do? Well, except there's also, you can find low cost stuff.
You can find low cost. And I'm just going to challenge you really quickly on I can't afford it.
Right.
Yeah, but your nails look real good. But your hair looks really good. I saw you on social media the other night. That was one session right there, Missy. So when I get challenged, because I don't take insurance, I'm cash pay only. And my rates they're not affordable for a lot of people that don't want to budget me in their life. Do you know what I mean? People will spend money. I have clients who spend money on a bunch of frivolous shit and they tell me about it. And then they're like, I got to skip a session because I can't afford it. Hey, priorities.
Yeah.
Priorities. But as far as health coverage is concerned, when we join PPOs and other, insurance panels, they don't pay us enough. They don't pay any doctors enough. They don't pay anyone, service provider enough in this field, whether it's medical or the mental health field. None of us are in it for the money. That's for damn sure. Right. We have to come up with stuff on the side to earn this money. So if you can't afford, your typical therapist, then you need to do some self-help. Literally, if it's anxiety that's your problem, there's a lot of stuff everyone can be their own therapist online these days. If you know what your initial issue is, then you can literally seek it out. It's baby steps. And what I find is that a lot of people already have the answers to their own problems. They really are just not at the stage that they're ready to change. So it's easier to complain about it than to own it, because once you own it, then you got to do something about it. So I'm just going to be wah for a while and not admit that I have it, even though I know I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I do like to give people tools if they're, and I've given this is, I live in Southern California. There's lots of things available here that there aren't in like Podunk, whatever. But the way I got 4 days a week psychoanalysis, because trust me, honey, I cannot afford that. But was because my son was in therapy. His therapist was the president of the Neuropsychoanalytic Institute here in Orange County. I went to a meeting with him. He was like, I think you could use a little therapy too. I'm like, no shit, hello, but I can't afford to send both of us. And I'm kind of prioritizing the next generation. Yeah. And because he had students who were getting their PsyD who needed people who could commit to going 4 days a week, who were already licensed therapists. So I got so much therapy at like nothing, because it was a pain in the ass to go somewhere 4 days a week for an hour. And let me tell you, it sucks. It's fun to entertain a therapist for one time a week or every other week, but when you're there every day, it's way less entertaining.
That's a lot.
But seriously, check out the psychoanalytic institutes in your area if that's something you think you can commit to, because I'll tell you what, it is flipping life.
Oh, I love that. And also, if you have insurance, most insurance cover it. Unfortunately, some insurance panels, like Kaiser, it does take 3 to 6 weeks between appointments, which is unfortunate, but at least you have that. A lot of places offer groups now. So seek out groups.
Yeah, and that's what Lily suggested, was support groups. And Joby Red Funny Girl said being part of this WLS YouTube community is a big support. And I agree. I think far more. And part of it is because now all my friends are from there. So I have my own little therapy group as well.
Absolutely.
But that's huge to my success.
I do want to talk about groups for a minute, because I was a group facilitator, but I was a therapist. There's no other group facilitators that I knew of at the time, or even a lot now, that are actually therapists in the weight loss surgery community doing groups. And my issue with that is that although group leaders are well-intended and now they're providing more training for them, they can provide information that's actually hurtful and damaging. So we really need to be careful, whether it's a nutritionist, a surgeon, a therapist, a group leader. Please be really conscious and diligent about who you're taking information from. Because what we do is when we're not well, we want to cling on to information that fits our agenda. Does that make sense? We're either going to reject it and say, that person's an idiot, asshole, I don't buy what they're selling, or nope, she's lying, or that doesn't fit. Because a lot of times, sometimes it's because we're wrong, but other times it's because you're not ready to change. So you're going to cling on to information that makes you feel good.
Sometimes it's because they're an asshole. I'm kidding. I'm joking, but sometimes. Okay, so here's the big thing. When I went to my, I had my weight loss surgery through Kaiser. And so when I went to the orientation that they did the first time, the surgeon said, in this big group full of fat people, basically, said, if you eat because you're not hungry, this surgery isn't going to work for you.
If you eat,
and I get it now, what he was saying. He said, if you eat because you're not hungry, weight loss surgery isn't going to work for you. And at the time I was like, dude, look around. People do not get this big by only eating when they're hungry. Right. Seriously. And honestly, for a little while, it put me off from getting surgery. However, now I have a little bit of a better understanding about where he's coming from. And that is, something that everybody's asking about is emotional eating. And how do you counsel your patients on dealing with those, or just to eat emotionally? That in the beginning, it's hard to do, but as you get further and further out, it's a lot easier.
Yes. So actually, so emotional eating also ties in with mindful eating and mindfulness. So the biggest anytime we talk about behavioral changes, we have to start identifying each and every culprit, trigger, habit, ritual. So one thing that I do with all my clients is we identify habits and rituals around food. So some of them will be like,
I was going to say, can you give us an example?
Yeah. Some of them will be like, oh no, I don't have any, or oh, I know that, I like at night my dessert, my ice cream to go to bed. Like I know that. But once I go down the list, we can identify like 20 in a day that you do that you're not even aware of. So the first thing we need to do is make you aware of your habits and rituals around food. So that's first part of it. But the second part of it is once we identify those, so is you're saying that every time, like on your way home, you actually stop at the drive-thru, even though you know you're going to make dinner, when you get home, but because your house is in such disarray, you're fighting with your husband, or you don't have a good marriage, or your kids are driving you nuts, you're saying you're building up that anxiety, and so going through the drive-thru calms you down. So then we're going to backtrack. So then, okay, the problem is not that you're, overeating, it's because you're being emotional about the situation at home. Does that make sense? So it's a lot of backtracking. So we're going to identify certain behaviors, and then we're going to identify the triggers. And the triggers is usually, even if it's loneliness or boredom, it doesn't even have to be like a person or a job. Loneliness, boredom, uncomfortable feelings are the things that I really work on with my clients. So being uncomfortable is something that people don't like to do. And another thing I hear a lot of professionals, say is what is it? Find a coping strategy. You know what I mean? So you're not, so you learn how to not, so you learn how to calm yourself. And I'm like, no, sit with being uncomfortable. You have to learn how to be uncomfortable, because when I'm uncomfortable, I don't just go for a jog. I'm like, not that kind of girl, So I have to just learn that it will pass. So it's hard to answer in one quick.
Right. But so what would be a strategy for somebody who does that? I mean, you would just tell them to kind of sit with, and that's what I've been really trying to learn, is just sit with it.
100% of my clients do not like uncomfortable feelings, but understanding why you're uncomfortable is what I do. So you'll have people who are selling you stuff, and they're like, oh, you need to just pick an apple over the burger. It's just not that easy. I'm going to go back to, when in your childhood did you learn that it was not cool to be uncomfortable? Like, that's where the therapy
always, everybody, didn't they?
For me, I had no rules. I was a latchkey kid. I did whatever the hell I wanted. I had no discipline. I had no structure. So that carried over my adult life with food. I had it whenever I wanted. I just never told myself no, blah, 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 blah. So once I just started to unpack that, I was like, oh, fuck, now I have to re-raise myself and teach myself structure and discipline for the first time. And it was conflicting because I had it in other areas of my life, and I'll find that with a lot of my clients. We have structure and we can be responsible adults in other areas of our life, but when it comes to this one thing, right, it's this one thing, but what we don't understand is that sometimes we're high functioning in other areas because we've leaned on food in an unhealthy way to help get us through those times. So
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, that leads to something else, because, and I think I've said this multiple times on here, my theory about the mental mind fuck of weight loss surgery is that my friends and I who were higher weight and higher age, who were going through this process and seeing other people kind of struggle with the mental stuff, pretty early out, we're like, oh, that's not going to happen to us because we're older and more mature and blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. What my theory is that once you lose enough weight to be at a semi-normal weight, which took us longer to get there because I was 400 pounds and 5'4", and I should have been 12 feet tall if that was going to work for me. But so you get to this point and you're having to deal with all the things of real life that you've been hiding out from forever, and you're having to deal with them without your coping mechanism, which has been food. And then sometimes you go to other things like alcohol or shopping or sex or whatever. So what are your thoughts on that?
So let's just go through that again. You can't run from your shit. If you don't address it, it's gonna catch up with you in one way or another. It's gonna catch up with you. You cannot avoid it. Getting skinny is not gonna fix your marriage. Getting skinny is not gonna put money in the bank. That's not how this works. You have to deal with the problems. And although you might get skinny for a minute, your chances of regaining are significantly higher if you're not dealing with the things that are making you overeat to begin with. So when I hear, basically the question you were asking was, what are some of the fallacies?
Well, no, I guess the question was, what about, you answered the question, which was dealing with your shit, but what about cross-addiction?
Okay, so let's cover cross-addiction really quickly. Because that could be a whole hour or two.
Right, I know. And we're just you guys, we're gonna touch on this stuff briefly, but hopefully Diana will come back and we'll do a show on relationships, a show on transfer addiction, but we're gonna try to get through a bunch of stuff at a higher level today.
A taste of my style and everything, how's that? Okay, so as far as cross-addiction is concerned, you have professionals tell you absolutely zero alcohol, right? Well, there's a reason. We absorb it differently, for one. Right? And when I give when I say things that like having to do with the surgery, I usually don't speak on it. That's not my lane. I'm really make sure that I stay in my lane. So from what I've learned from my surgeon and other surgeons being at the conferences and whatnot is that we absorb alcohol differently. And I was so terrified not to drink. I was never a heavy drinker before, but alcoholism runs in my family. So number one, I'm already at high risk, right? For alcohol to cross addict. And then two, I waited a year, had my first drink, and I was like, okay, this is going to happen. I'm going to have my first drink because we were at a party. And I had that drink and instant buzz. Well, that didn't happen before when I was, go ahead.
So everybody knows you had RNY, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I got instantly drunk and then instantly sober. I was like, what is this magic? It was so fun. I was like, this is why people drink. Like, I never got it. As a big girl, it took me drink after drink to feel even remotely like I was having a good time. Do you know what I mean? So I just never drank. I was not a big drinker because it cost too much and it was just never tasted great. But with the way it affected my body and this instant high and this instant, recovery, I was like, I can see why my patients literally can cling on to this, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, let's just take the surgery off of the table. If you have a family history of addiction, alcoholism, you're at higher risk automatically. Okay, so then also if you don't take care of the things that we mentioned before, all your stressors, what's causing the anxiety, blah, 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 and we take away one of your major coping mechanisms without teaching you new habits or addressing those issues, again, you're going to increase your chances of addiction after weight loss surgery because we're taking away your coping mechanism. So cross addiction is a very real thing. It can happen. It's not just with substances. It can be with shopping. We're looking for instant gratification. For some of us, we are looking for the chemical dependency, but we're still just grabbing onto something that's going to be instantly satisfying. And that's how the cross addiction happens.
Okay, so I'm assuming that since you are weight loss surgery patient and therapist, that it's okay to talk about some of your own challenges with this?
Always.
Okay. So I'm just curious, as someone who, as you were going into this, you had a lot of information and education that some of us don't. What was a hurdle that you had emotionally and how did you overcome it?
Oh, I had a lot. Even though I have the skills, just like in my marriage, I'm a marriage fucking therapist. I'm supposed to know everything, right? But sometimes I'm a dick wife and that happens, right? But I know how to repair and they go fewer and farther between. The same as when I was recovering with my weight loss surgery. So lost the weight. I have a great marriage. We don't have trust issues, but I noticed that my husband started to react differently. Are you going to wear that skirt? Or what are you doing? You were really flirty with that person. And he started to become insecure and I would call him out on it. I was like, babe, what's going on with you? I'm still the same person. And he was getting I'm getting all these compliments. Oh my God, you look fabulous. And then people are like, oh, you better keep up with the wife. Not that my husband's overweight, but for some reason people had permission now, they thought to, compliment me and then insult him. So it just started changing the dynamic of our relationship. And I remember we were at one party and he was like, we were comparing tattoos with another guy that was there. And he was like, you touched him 11 times. And I was like, what are you talking about? In that moment, that's when the therapist cap went on. And I said, you know what, babe, that wasn't my intention. And it doesn't matter if I did or didn't do it, you felt that way. And I'll be more mindful going forward. It just doesn't matter. I'm trying to figure out this new me. I'm almost, at the time I was 30, when I got to goal, I was about 38. It was a year later, so I was about 38. I'm trying to dress a 38-year-old body for the first time. I've not had the luxury of wearing these fun clothes when I was in my 20s because I was so big. I said, so just bear with me. I'm trying to figure it out. And we had to work through that. Literally, it was a big discussion. And because we have a good marriage, we were able to go back and forth. And this is what's making me uncomfortable. This is what I'm trying to do. And it was just a back and forth. So I would say that was one of the major hurdles, other than hormonally, I was a freaking mess. I was crying because I couldn't have my food at night. I was crying because I was, for the first time, identifying habits and rituals that I had around food. I used to have to take, and to this day, still take detours around favorite restaurants. I mean, there's a lot of emotional baggage that comes with trying to redo this whole weight loss journey, because it changed my life.
You know what I did last night? And I mean, this is probably like an eating disorder behavior, but it works for me. But so we had dinner here last night for my son's 21st birthday. I'm very low carb. We had French bread and we had apple pie. So after everybody, and I did pretty good. I had a piece of French bread, but I mean, I did fine. But everybody leaves and it's me here by myself. So I dumped water on that French bread. I dumped water in that apple pie and I threw it in the trash.
One thing I say about willpower, we only have so much. We only have so much willpower to get us through the day. And if you cut me off earlier on the road and I didn't ram you, there was a little bit of my willpower went out there. You know what I mean? I'm using it all day to battle little stressors, my willpower. So when I get home and I'm depleted and my willpower cup is empty, I'm at risk, because if I have it in the house, I'll eat it. Like my kids know, my husband knows, like if it's sitting here, if it's in the middle of the night and I'm like, I want something, I can go in there and all I have freaking is garbanzo bean flour and some fucking quinoa. Like there's nothing fun.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the way it should be, because I'm going to safeguard my kitchen, but like I safeguard my marriage. So do you see how I will link all your eating shit to your real life?
See, that's so awesome, because I do that. I mean, I do that totally. And I feel like it's one of the reasons I've been super successful in my weight loss surgery journey. But I feel like I've been able to do that because I didn't have weight loss surgery until my son was about ready to go to college. So I've lived by myself.
Mm-hmm.
How have you gotten your family to go along with that?
You know what? I hear this all the time. I have a picky, my husband's picky. Well, tell him to fix his own shit then. I have picky kids. Well, do they run the show or do you? Do you know what I mean? I run this shit, okay? And that's another part of the part I will counsel you on. Why can't you put structure in your home? What kind of marriage do you have that won't allow you to have a voice? What kind of marriage that you can't come together and compromise on what is healthy living? You know, what kind of kids do you have that I need to help you with some parenting skills, it sounds like. So my kids have been fantastic. They haven't been easy. I sometimes have cooked for 4 different meals, and I have a couple videos out there. I don't cook to show you recipes. I cook to show you how stressful it can be and my quick ways around it. So for example, like I'll bake with my kids. I teach my kids how to cook. When we do pizzas, everyone likes a different pizza, but we'll do like the flatbread pizza with chicken on top, with arugula salad on top, sun-dried tomatoes on top. And then everyone puts their own different healthy toppings on top. And so it's like a way that we can cook healthy, but everyone sort of gets their own, you know? So there's ways around it. And I have to, I want to be a good mom where I want to make fun stuff for them to eat, but fun stuff doesn't necessarily mean that we're eating shit every night, you know? Right. We meal prep in this house. We portion size. I know my 17-year-old is fantastic. He has like a 6-pack, you know, it's really fun. And also though, in our house, I have two different bodies. So my 17-year-old is probably like 0% body fat, and my 13-year-old holds his weight differently. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, why can't I eat what brother eat and look like brother? So sort of, you know, not in those words, but he's understanding I'm going to have to work harder at this thing than my brother did. And I'm glad he's getting that message now, you know, rather than later and having weight loss surgery.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You're setting up such a great framework for your kids to be successful in their life. And I see that I have friends in the community who have kids. My son is like 120 pounds soaking wet. He took after his dad. Thank God. He needs to eat a sandwich. But I see friends who are struggling with this with their kids, and I can't imagine anything more heartbreaking than seeing your kids reliving and know what's going to be their future. And I mean, this is one thing Dr. B said I absolutely believe. You are the problem and you are the solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like what you're doing. I mean, it's not easy. But the thing that you're saying that's so sticking with me, and I think it underlies everything, is the thing with your husband. You know, you had to be uncomfortable to have those conversations with him.
Yes.
I mean, it's all about sitting with being uncomfortable.
It is. And if you don't know how to have hard conversations with people, if you don't know how to, you know, live your best life, you're going to struggle with this process. It is a big hurdle. It's not an easy challenge for sure. And I'm telling you, everyone that I know that is regained, you know, hasn't made significant changes in the other areas of their life. It's not that you can't read a freaking recipe book. It's not that you can't go hire a trainer. We all can do that. It's the fact that you fall off the wagon because you're pissed at your husband, because you hate your job, because you have no money, because your kids are running amok.
And also because we're all going to fall off the wagon. I mean, without a doubt, but it's this ability to get back up. You know, you screw up today, you can tomorrow, not even tomorrow, 5 minutes from now, you can get back on track. And I just feel like we have a tendency to beat up on ourselves so much.
Every day is a new opportunity to recommit.
Yes.
Every day I recommit to everything. Every day I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I do. It's self-affirmations. It's a lot of self-talk. Again, a lot of my clients have negative self-talk that went back to childhood. We have to reframe what you're telling yourself. You are who you tell yourself. I strongly believe that. I strongly believe that if I tell myself I'm going to be fantastic, great, whatever, I live it and I become it. I'm a big person in vision boards. You know, I had licensed whatever on my board a long time ago. I had everything I've achieved today, I had on my boards years ago. So whatever it is that you need to achieve, you need to envision it and then make a plan. But again, you can't follow that plan. People cannot follow the plan if they have these big stressors in their life, because it's just, you need to address the real problems. Yeah. I don't see the comments, so I don't know if anyone's making comments.
Sorry. Oh, they're making tons, and I'll send them to you over. They love you. They're talking about it's going crazy over there, but I'll send them to you later. There's not really questions so much, but I'll send you the conversation so you can see it.
So if I'm not responding to these guys, it's just because I don't see them.
I'm not seeing questions, but like I said, I can only half look at it. So if you guys have real questions you want, text them to me. Okay, so we touched on relationships a little bit, but my theory about this is weight loss surgery. I don't know about wives so much, because I think women approach this in a little bit different way, but I think weight loss surgery husbands for sure are just fucked either way, because either they were, pardon my French, either they were attracted to their wife heavier. I mean, just from a physical attraction perspective, there are men who are attracted to women who are heavier. And so not only, so then there's that attraction sort of goes away, or like you said, your husband was noticing as you changed, your husband was noticing things and it was making him uncomfortable. Or I think on the other side, there are people who are super attracted to how their wife looks now and are afraid to say it, because what does it mean about all these other years? And then the woman has everybody in their world telling them how hot they are, except for their husband. Yeah. So I just am like, if you're a weight loss surgery husband, I'm sorry.
Yes, a little bit. Okay, so let me, one question I get all the time is that, do weight loss surgery patients have a higher risk of divorce post-operatively? And so I always say the answer is no. The reason I say that is because I say no in comparison to any other couple that goes through a major life stressor. So you do, if you put yourself in the category of a spouse losing their job, a spouse falling ill, losing a child, you know what I mean? Financial hardship. So if it's a major life stressor, you are in the same category as far as risk of divorce as they are. Mm-hmm. But no more.
That makes great sense. I've never heard anybody.
It's a major life adjustment. So we do put our marriages at risk anytime we have a major life adjustment. So if your marriage is already fucked up, again, you increase your chances of causing more problems. But one thing I do want to stress is that the best marriages are susceptible to having issues post-operatively that they didn't have before. You know, the wife is changing, even though they had a great marriage. I still see sometimes the friction, like I explained the one case with my marriage, you know what I mean? But if we have a good connection, we can repair it faster than the couple that doesn't.
Well, so what about, because I was going to say, like, not everybody, where there's the wife a therapist and the husband is open to communicating and is upfront about what their issues are instead of being passive aggressive and sabotaging. So, because I hear that too, that sometimes family members or friends are sabotaging our weight loss efforts. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, so that comes back to having hard conversations. Number one, how confident in yourself are you or how confident are you in the situation that that's what they're doing, right? Secondly, how brave are you to have that conversation with that somebody? And thirdly, how are they going to receive it? So we can tell people all we want, but if they're not going to reciprocate it or receive it, it's falling on deaf ears. So first you identify that it's an issue. My husband is eating hamburgers and he's bringing them home, and he knows that I'm on this weight loss journey. So then you have the conversation with him. Babe, it's really hurting my soul that you're not supporting me. If you're going to have burgers, I'm not going to dictate how you're going to eat. But I need you is it possible you can eat them outside the home? Or can we come up with some kind of eating schedule where I'm just going to eat dinner alone and you're going to eat dinner alone, because that's where we're at. Like, you come up with some rules, right? So then let's just say you have a higher functioning marriage and he's just like, you're right. I'm not being fair to you, but I'm not willing to change as far as go on a diet or watch what I'm eating. So I'm going to just alter where I eat and try to be more mindful and help you out. Or he's going to say, screw you, you chose this thing. It wasn't something I chose. You were fine before, or this is bullshit, or you're going to fail anyways. And then you got a decision to make about your marriage. Then that's where the hard stuff comes in. But what happens is my clients will blame the other person and just continue to blame instead of accept who they are, because once you accept who they are, then you're forced to make changes.
Right.
You're forced to make changes. So if you don't accept that person you're living with and you just bitch about it, you can stay stuck in that cycle forever. I had one couple, let me give you a quick example, where it was very clear he was having an affair. Very clear. I mean, everything but him admitting. I mean, the phone records, the hotel, blah, blah, blah. But the wife just told herself they were just talking. So by her saying that they were just talking and not admitting that they had a sexual affair, she could live in the marriage without having to make decisions. Because if she admitted that, then I have to make a decision about staying with a cheating husband.
Right.
And I have to contend with it, and I have to answer questions to my family, and so we stay in denial, or even if we know the truth, we dumb it down so that we don't have to make hard decisions. So there's a couple of things. Either you work it out through communication and come up with a new game plan. Every step in our marriage is a renegotiation. When we have children, change jobs, lose weight, go on different paths, it's a renegotiation of our partnership. So renegotiate. If you have a good one, it'll work out. If you don't, you got to make some hard choices. But the one thing is, don't be in the middle and just bitch about it in circles, because regain will happen in that process.
Yeah. And I know it's not quite that easy, because if you haven't had these behaviors your whole life, I'm just getting there, and I've had a shitload of therapy, and I am like all of the introspective and think about this stuff, and but it is really hard. But just being aware, and even if you realize and you can tell me if I'm wrong and my head's on my butt, but even if you realize, okay, this is happening with my husband, and you're not ready to have that conversation, journal about it, write about it, talk to somebody else, and not just somebody who's going to say, oh, he's a dick, but somebody who's going to help you and listen to you, sort of. It
doesn't happen overnight. That's a very good point. Right. So when you're contemplating a big move, we dip our feet in it a lot. You know what I mean? We're going to talk to our friends. We're going to talk to a therapist. It doesn't happen overnight. I don't give advice to even leave your spouse. I give advice about what's your happiness level? How happy do you want to be? And these are the steps that are going to increase your chances of getting there. So when we're contemplating, and I have a lot of couples have split after they've gone to therapy, because that's what's healthiest for the relationship and the family unit. But it's like an attempt, and there might be separate bedrooms, and then there might be one person moves and then they come back in. It's a process. These are things we've invested in over years and years. It's going to take time. So I would never fault you for, should I do it? Should I not? That's never something I would do. And I understand that change, no matter what department of our life it's in, it takes time. I have a real quick prime example is when I work with my domestic violence counselors, statistically speaking, it takes 7 attempts for a woman to leave a man who's beating her. 7 attempts, and he's beating her. So how many attempts do you think it's going to take for you, and many changes, to actually pull the trigger on ending something that you've invested in? It's going to take a long time. So be kind to yourself.
And I am not a therapist, nor do I play one on TV. But one of the things, because I have learned so much about this in the last couple of years, is just being true to who I am and saying my truth. And that's not easy, but it's a lot easier when you start doing it with little things.
Yes.
You
Give me
know,
an example. What was one of the little things you admitted to yourself?
this wasn't admitting to myself. This is with other, here's an example. So in a relationship with a man, I had never, ever, I've been married twice, where someone did something and I would say to them, you're really irritating me. Never, because I was so afraid if I said that, they would leave, ever.
Oh, I love it. So now you tell people?
Okay, well, so I was having a text exchange with someone that I was seeing, and in my head, I was like, okay, this is really irritating me. And I could not say anything because this relationship is important to me. And if I say it, it may end the relationship. And it's like, you know what? I can't not say it. And so I just texted him. I said, you know what? I was talking about other people. Like, this day is irritating. Work's irritating me. This is irritating me. And honestly, you're irritating me. And I'm because of this. And if that, bugs you. And I literally was like, I'm probably never going to hear from him again because I had never done that. And it's crazy. I'm 51 years old. And this just happened like 3 or 4 months ago.
No comment.
And you know what his response, the relationship didn't work out for other reasons, but his response to me was, I really appreciate you telling me.
And
because I can't change it if you don't tell me.
Absolutely. And what people miss in that whole exchange you had is that anyone who's not willing to reciprocate is not worth keeping.
Well, exactly. And that was the thing. It's like, I'd rather know now that he can't hear me saying that.
Yes.
And move on. And that was huge for me. And I know, and people were like, you never told a man. And I didn't because I was so afraid.
But also, I think that to try not to have a mini therapy session here, but there's something in your past that told you you're not allowed to speak up, you're not worthy, you're not blah, 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 right? So that's where I come in with behavior modification, with a thought process change and challenging your faulty thoughts. I would tell you, this is where you learned it. And you're like, okay, and that gives people the courage to understand, okay, so I'm not off anymore. I deserve to be able to speak up. I don't have to stay in my place. And, so I'm so happy you got the courage to do that, and you'll weed them out faster because of it.
Oh, absolutely. And it goes in other, it's a male thing. So with my dad, that's hard. And I do that now. And even with my son, it's hard. And he did something and I said that, hurts my feelings. And he was like, well, I'm sorry you're mad. I go, I didn't say I'm mad. I said it hurt my feelings. And
people aren't used to people being vulnerable. They're not used to being vulnerable, and people aren't used to receiving people who are vulnerable. It makes everyone uncomfortable. So being vulnerable is powerful. I don't feel, I'm so often vulnerable that I don't feel vulnerable anymore, if that makes sense.
I'm starting to feel that way myself.
It's very empowering to not know it all. It's very empowering just to say you hurt my feelings, but I also surround myself with a very good group of people that, don't intentionally harm me or just they're not dicks. So I feel safe enough to tell people that, right?
Yes. So it's almost been an hour.
It goes by so fast.
So Lily had a great question. She said, what do you feel is the most important thing you want a pre-op person to know when they leave your office before surgery?
Oh, see, that's why they need at least 2 sessions with me, because I tell them all the most important things that they need to know before surgery. This is what I want you to know, that it's absolutely possible to have success after weight loss surgery. It's absolutely possible to get down to goal despite the messages your brain's telling yourself that you're not supposed to be thin. I hear that a lot. I wasn't supposed to get to goal because I'm not supposed to be that thin. You can absolutely live a fantastic life after weight loss surgery if you put the work in. It's very possible. It's a great tool. I would do it all over again. It was the tool that worked for me after 38 years of dealing with the weight. It has worked for me, and it has been a game changer for my life. So although I don't advocate for it because I don't think it's for everybody, I think that it has great benefits.
Everybody's shouting out Dale Cooper. Diana, this is my cat, Dale Cooper. He's a YouTube star.
Aww.
So what about when, so you were on My 600 Pound Life on season 5, episode 6 with Erica. I watched it today because I hadn't seen it. And you know what? I was like, I need to make a note of that because she said something so amazingly powerful.
That she doesn't want it more than I want it.
What did you recap that
I say it to all my clients.
I should have written it down.
No, I say it to all my clients. I'm not going to work harder than you are willing to work. I can't want this for you more than you want it for yourself. like I can't drag you to the water, let alone make you drink it. You got to be.
And you were, and this was before. I mean, this was before, but you were talking with her too about that. You have to feel uncomfortable.
Yes. So that was that the other point, or did I hit the point that you?
I don't think we hit it. I wish I would have written it down because I don't remember what it was you said, but it was really powerful to me. But that's pretty good since I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I got feedback from that show. Either you loved me or you hated me. I mean, most people, I got positive feedback because most therapists are pretty laid back, you know, a little bit, how does that make you feel kind of therapy. And I'm very in your face and direct. And they only saw, I think it was like minutes of a 2-hour session we had.
Right. I mean, yeah.
So I'm a lot kinder and gentler in session, but I'm a very assertive, directive therapist because people needed to change yesterday. They didn't come in because they want the slow route. Although I'm not into doing things fast, as processes fast. I give you homework. I create change. I'm there to make shit happen. So that's what they saw.
Let's see. We have 5 more minutes. What else do I want to talk about in 5 minutes? How about?
There's no one with questions. No other questions.
Well, they're probably so far up. If anybody has some questions, they can post right now where I can see them because I can't scroll all the way up. That would be awesome. But what about if do you have people who come to you who are dealing with regain, and how do you address that?
I have a lot of people right now that are coming to me for regain. One of the big things, because a lot of them have great marriages and finances are fine and we're on the higher functioning end and we don't have those. A lot of my clients fall into that category. We're not dealing with big crisis issues anymore. It's just back down to habits and rituals and going back to basics. So one thing I find that helps for regain is find a mini goal. So I ran 2 LA marathons and I'm not a runner and I'm still not a runner, but those motivated me to stay on track. So pick one event. You know, my husband recently did the 10-mile Spartan. I was so inspired not to do a fucking Spartan, but I was like, what's my next thing that I want to shoot for that I have to look forward to maintain my weight. So now it's that I'm getting my tummy tuck on July 18th. So I'm like, okay, so I'm really pumped up and it helps me stay on track every day. So one thing I tell my higher functioning is not only do we go back to basics, identify all of our habits and rituals that have slipped back in, things that you're doing, the complacency we're dealing with, but find something to shoot for. Literally, push yourself outside of the little comfort zone you've been in for so long. I never thought I would do an LA marathon, marathon. You know what I mean? And it took me hours, but I did it. You know, I finished it and I got that fucking medal and I wore it for a week with no toenails and it was an accomplishment. So think of what you can do and push yourself as far as your physical health and your mental health is concerned. And then that'll sort of gear you back to going back to basics.
So I'm just going to say what my little mini goal is right now is that by the time I speak at WLSFA, that I will be at my lowest post-op weight.
You mean OH?
Or OH. What did I say?
It's okay.
WLSFA, that's true. Okay, obesity help. Because I've had a little bit of and I've kicked most of it in the butt, but I want to be at my lowest post-op weight. I don't know if I'll hit my goal, which is still 25 pounds away, but I want to be there and I will be there. So
I like how you're shooting for that. You're going to be on a platform. Being at these conferences is also another mini goal for me because people look at me. What is she wearing? Did she regain? Blah, blah, blah. And so although I have regained 25 pounds that I've taken, off a lot of it, it is not so much about that. I've maintained more than I've ever gained or struggled with. For sure. And I believe we need to contend with regain. I don't think that it's a healthy thing. I don't think that, this is the weight our body was supposed to be. I think we need to get our shit back together. But I'm excited. I'm going to hold you to that. And I'm looking forward to seeing that in October. And I will be down some pounds and minus a flap. And
I know, how exciting.
I'm excited.
And, we're going to have to do a show about this too after you've recovered a bit, because I've also had friends who've had plastics say that was actually more of a mental mindfuck than losing the weight.
Wow.
Was how they were looked at after plastic. I think it may be a little different than you because you're so far out. I mean, you're 6.5 years out. I think it may be a little different, but what do I know?
Yeah.
But it would be curious to talk about the psychological impact of plastics.
People forget that the psychological change is much slower than the physical change, and they're not on the same page, and that causes a lot of issues. That's a whole nother emotional aspect that people are not aware of. You're changing and you're getting all these compliments and all this attention and this different body, not necessarily better body, you know what I mean? And it's a struggle for some people. So we can do a whole nother hour on that.
Yes. So, and we're going to do, I have a feeling we're going to do lots of hours. I like our rapport together, and I just want to, a couple of things. I'm going to send you the chat, but like Wendy Allison said, she loved you. Lily via she said, thank you so much. Your great no bullshit style is refreshing.
Oh, thank you.
So we're wrapping it up at 6 o'clock. Is there anything in terms of a website, or if they want to find out about your coaching or anything that you can?
I can put the link underneath our video. We can post
Okay,
it.
so if you send it to me, I'll put it there. Yeah.
Wonderful. If you just Google Diana Vogel, Diana, Vogel, Vogel, LMFT, my website has it all.
And she's on Instagram. I tagged her in the post if you want to follow there. She has some good, you know how I love a good meme, and she has some good memes. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in this week. This has been really fun. So look forward to seeing more of Diana on The Naked Truth. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.